Hey everybody, Mitchell here from TheHockeyRefBook.com, and in this video we're going to talk about procedures in the two official system. So, when we're talking about skills of a hockey referee, of a hockey official, we always talk about these skills in this pyramid, right? We have positioning on the bottom, and there's another video about positioning in the two official system, and we have procedures in the middle, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Game management is discussed elsewhere, and then professional skills exist all the way around the different skills that are inside that pyramid. When we talk about procedures though, we're really talking about that middle section. We're talking about the skills that you use to work with your partners, your fellow officials in stopping the play, managing a stoppage, and then starting play again. And that's what this video is going to look at, is it's going to look at those skills that you need during those stoppages to keep the game moving and also keep the game fair and safe. But before we really jump into that, I just want to bring your attention to the book, How to Referee Hockey. It's not just about the rule book. It's really a companion resource for you along with these videos, because there's more information in the book than what I can share with you in these short videos that I am recording. So if you take a look here, you'll see that everything that's in blue is being covered to some extent in this video. However, I can't go into as much detail as I do in the book. And then some things like injuries and altercations and fight procedures are not included in this video, just for the sake of time. So being able to look at the book will further educate you, will further help you develop your skills as a hockey official. So as we dive into this, let's just take a moment and think about trying to imagine ourselves actually on the ice. So you can listen to me talk about these skills. You can see them in line drawings like I'm going to show you. But really, if you can imagine yourself doing these skills, you're going to find that your knowledge translates over to your actual game situations much more effectively than if you just passively listen. So as we go through this, try to actually imagine what this looks like when you're on the ice, what it sounds like, what it looks like through your eyes, what it's like to work with the players, and just try to incorporate the ideas into your actual experiences to what you might have on the ice in the future. So we're going to start here. We're going to start with this procedure, because this is your procedure every stoppage. There's going to be nuances to offsides or icings or different types of situations that might come up on the ice, but really, this is your procedure. You're going to stop play. You're going to make sure that the players stop. You're going to separate the players. We're then going to move into starting play again and using things like penalty call procedure and line change procedure, and where we go on the ice and when to manage all of the different players that are moving around the ice surface during a stoppage. But no matter what, even if you forget a procedure for something, you're just going to default to stop play, separate players, and then start play again. And if you forget some little step in there, just fall back on separate the players. As soon as the whistle goes, my job is to separate the players. So let's go through some examples of different procedures that you'll use in a game. But remember, separate the players. That is what you'll fall back on if you forget some part of this procedure. So we're going to start with a goal procedure, because goals are very emotional times, and it's a moment when you have to know your role on the ice in order to ensure that players separate in a timely and safe manner. So if you're taking a look here, we see the puck is in the slot, and we can see that our various steps of every stoppage is up over here. Look down here, you'll see that on pages 43 to 46 of How to Referee Hockey, that's where the goal procedure is discussed. So you can read further about this in the book in order to further cement your skills. So that puck's going to get shot on net, goes in the net, the official down in the end zone gets to an at the net position and signals a goal, and we've now stopped play because that official has blown their whistle. At this moment in time, we're going to have the official from the blue line comes in and starts encouraging the players, X, the team that scored, so that official is going to be encouraging X to exit the zone back to their bench to change, and then Z, who is scored on, will just leisurely and kind of in a moping way go back to their bench to change or else to center ice. So once X has left, this official is able to bump up to this blue line here and provide coverage to make sure that these X players stay away from the Z bench, and then also being able to supervise the Z players as they go to their bench. Once the players have separated and exited, the official who called the goal is able to go to the timekeeper's bench and report the goal, and this other official will retrieve the puck and then go to center ice to set up the center ice face-off. And that's your goal procedure. It's the same thing. Stop play when the puck goes in the net, separate the players, which is what we did, and then we go and set up the next face-off. That's our goal procedure. And any procedure that we go through, So we're ready to start play now. So that's the goal procedure. Now just imagine that off of that center ice face-off, the puck goes to the opposite end of the ice. So now it's going to X's defensive zone. So that's what's happened here. And as we move up the ice, we know that off that center ice face-off, this official at the bottom of the screen is going to go with the play. Pause right here. So this official isn't stopping here. We're just going to pause. This official has seen X foul Z some way, slashing, hooking, whatever it happens to be. And at this moment, this official is going to see the penalty and mentally record the team, the number, and infraction. Okay, we'll push play again. This official is going to go down into this home base, into the half piston position at the bottom of the circle because the puck's on the far side of the ice. His hand is currently up in order to signal that he has a delayed penalty. Puck gets shot on net. He goes to an at the net position. Goalie covers the puck. And we are now at the point when he has to call that penalty. So this official who had the penalty on delay is going to come to a complete stop, be visible to everyone in the arena, count to 3, talk to the players as necessary, then count to 3, and then make their call. Once that official's made their call, they have to also escort the guilty player to the box, so they will go and retrieve the guilty player and take them to the penalty box. At this point, the official who was not calling the penalty will have retrieved the puck and will start setting up for the face-off. And this official here who called the penalty is going to go into the neutral zone somewhere and do line change procedure, which we will talk about in a few slides. Bottom line is that we're going through these procedures. Stop play, separate the players, start play. That's always what we're trying to do with any one of these procedures. So once line change is done, that official goes back to that neutral zone face-off dot to watch the face-off. Now the other part about this is that we also have to know what we're doing as the official who's dropping the puck. So at this point in this next slide, this official has retrieved the puck and is helping people line up for the face-off. His partner is doing line change procedure. Now line change procedure has 3 parts and I'll cover it in a later slide. But for the person at the face-off dot, the first 5 seconds is for the visiting team to change. During that time, the person dropping the puck will retrieve the puck and then go line up and talk to the players as they come into the face-off dot. The second 5 seconds is when the home team's changing. This whole time, the person doing the face-off is going to be standing facing center ice. That allows that person to see as much of the ice as possible and be able to talk to as many players as possible. The last 5 seconds, the partner who's doing the line change, their hand comes down. The person doing the face-off will check the players behind them one last time and then pivot and be ready to drop the puck. We'll go over the line change procedure in a couple of slides so you can better understand that. So that's the face-off procedure. Bottom line, everyone's lined up. We have a penalty, so X only has 4 players on the ice, and this official in the neutral zone can watch the face-off from there and then back up to the boards once the puck gets dropped. So let's imagine now that penalty has been killed, the plays went back and forth, and this X team is actually quite tired and they end up icing the puck shortly after their penalty is expired. So let's talk about the procedure for managing an icing situation. Now there's 3 situations that can come up. So we know that the icing happens because the puck is shot from one side of the ice to meet all the criteria for icing. The puck goes down the ice. Now in this first situation, nothing is happening. And by nothing happening, I mean that the X team is so tired, they ice the puck, and we're in a league that allows for changes when there's an icing that happens, and they just go for their change, and there's no pushing or shoving. And in this situation where nothing is happening, O2 just bounces back here, and O2 is able to do the line change procedure now. O1 is going to grab the puck and bring the puck back down to the next face-off dot. 0-2, once line change is over, we'll just come over here to this face-off dot and watch the face-off from there until the puck is dropped. So that's the first situation. Here's the second situation. So icing the puck in situation number 2. So in situation number 2, it's the same idea. The back official 0-2 is going to identify that it's an icing. Hand goes up, they say ice, and then their partner skates up the ice to make a determination by the hash marks, making a determination by the hash marks that it's going to be icing, and then makes the call once all the criteria for icing is met at the goal line. In this circumstance, though, there's stuff happening behind the play. So we've killed off this penalty, but now what's happened is there's players scrumming or pushing or yapping at each other behind the play. In this case, the puck goes all the way down the ice. 0-1 has to go down and make a call on the icing when it qualifies to be an icing. But 0-2, rather than coming all the way down into the zone, 0-2 is going to curl back and make sure that these players, in this stuff happening circle, where these players are interacting, that they separate. So again, we're going to stop play. That's what 0-1 has done. But then 0-2 has to get those players separated. And of course, if these players don't separate easily, 0-1 is going to come back and help. But we have stop play, separate players, and then once the players are separated, 0-1 can go get the puck, bring it down here for the next face-off, and 0-2 can bounce out into a visible position to do the line change procedure. And then they just go back over to the dot to watch the face-off for any encroachment. Here's the third example. In the third example, we're going to have stuff happening where the icing is called. So this time players hustle down the ice, and the stuff happening is where the icing gets called. In this case, 0-2 is going to come down and help separate the players, right? Stop play, 0-1's blown their whistle, 0-2 and 0-1 work together to separate the players because 0-1 wasn't able to do it by herself. At which point the players are separated and went their separate ways. You might call a penalty at this point, you might not. You're separating the players. 0-1 will take the puck and take it down to the next face-off dot, and 0-2, who is the back official, will go do the line change procedure at the benches. So those are 3 situations where we can have slightly different situations about icing the puck. Regardless, it's always the same procedure. Back official hand goes up, calls ice, the front official stops play at the appropriate time, and then they separate the players before they move on to retrieving the puck, setting up the face-off, and doing line change procedure in order to start play. Always the same type of idea. So the face-off happens in the next zone. It's icing, so here's your next face-off situation. This time we're going to talk about face-off and the goalie covering the puck. We know the face-off procedure because we already covered it. Open to the dot facing the center ice. Set the players around you. The referee or your partner drops their hand. You blow your whistle. You pivot to face the dot, and you drop the puck within 5 seconds. So this time, the puck's won back to the defense person. The shot goes on net. Puck bounces around, the goalie covers it, the official in the end zone blows their whistle. At this moment, 0-2 is going to come in and get between the players. We're now into the separating players phase. Players leave the zone because we've separated them. 0-2 goes into the neutral zone to do line change procedure, and 0-1 takes the puck over to the next face-off dot. Now, let's talk about 0-2's line change procedure. So the line change procedure has several steps. It should be done in about 15 seconds. So the first step is that you're going to take up a visible position to both benches. The first team who's allowed to change the line change procedure are the visitors. So you're going to make eye contact with the visitors' bench and invite them to change. They get 5 seconds. Once you hit the end of that 5 seconds, you put up your hands to the visitor in a stop sign type position. Hand up to the visitors. And you make eye contact with the home team now. And the home team gets 5 seconds to change. Once that 5 seconds is over, you drop your hand. Changes are over. Your partner blows the whistle. You get back to the dot where you're going to stand for the face-off, and the puck drop takes place 5 seconds later. So it's 15 seconds from beginning to end. 5 seconds for the visitors to change, 5 for the home team to change, and then 5 seconds after the whistle. As we go through this, you're starting to see that there's a lot of similarities, right? It's always about stop play, separate players, and then do your line change procedure. That's what we're looking to do. One situation that's different is certainly the penalty shot because you're removing all the players from the ice. But when we set up a penalty shot, the only people on the ice, only players on the ice are the two goalies. They stay in their creases, the player taking the shot. Everyone else goes on to their bench because you don't want anyone else on the ice to get in the way. So what we note about penalty shots is that the player taking the penalty shot is going to have their stick always on one side of their body. As the official in the end zone, you're going to line up on whichever side of the net puts you on the same side as their stick blade. The reason you do this is because it allows you to see the puck all the way down the ice and reduces the risk that the player will block you out as they come down the ice. You're less likely to lose sight of the puck when you're on the same side as the stick. Your partner is always going to line up visible to the benches. So in this example on the screen, we can see that you're diagonal to each other. There's that nice diagonal line. But if the player shot the other way and they were on this side of the net, 0-1 would move over here, but 0-2 would stay on the same side of the ice as the benches are. At this point, 0-1, the official in the end zone will blow their whistle, and Zed will come in and take their shot. Once the shot is over, everyone has specific jobs. The official in the end zone, 0-1, is going to determine goal, no goal, and they're also going to take their first responsibility to ensure that X and Z, the goalie and the shooter, separate and they don't become entangled in a war of words or start pushing each other. Once Z has left the zone, the shooter has left the zone, 0-2 wants to set up so that 0-2 can push the shooter away from the other team's bench. Because what we don't want is we don't want the shooter going close to the other team's bench. This doesn't matter whether they scored or not. We always want to make sure the shooter goes away from the other team's bench. So 0-2 has several responsibilities. First one is to be visible to the benches. Second one is to keep the shooter away from the other team's bench. Wants to be ready in case the teams jump on the ice before they're supposed to. So you want to keep those teams at the benches until you're sure that the shot is over. And you're always taking the side of the ice with the benches. So that's what 0-2's job is. Another way to look at this, and it's also referenced in the book itself, is think of it, if a goal scored, you go to goal scoring procedure. If there's no goal scored, you go to goalie covers the puck procedure. So there's a lot of overlap as well for those different procedures, as we've seen with everything else. Stop play, separate players, start play. Same idea. So game goes on, we eventually finish the game, and we have to do handshakes. So we're going to line the teams up at center ice, of course, and as we line up the teams at center ice, we want to take up this position. So we're going to be diagonal to the two teams, closer to center ice, where the players are going to be interacting the most. What we don't want to do is we don't want to be lining up at the ends of the lines and being traffic cops to tell them to go this way or that way. It is important to try to get the teams to separate in the right directions, but we want our presence to be felt where the players are interacting. When you stand at the end of the handshake lines, you're going to find that you're not actually able to manage the players' interactions as well. You can use your voice to tell them which way to go. So in this case, we can tell Z to go to the benches and X to leave the ice. So they're going to shake hands. Z will go to their bench, 0-2 is going to go with Z to supervise them, and 0-1 will take the players off the ice. It's really important that you always have your head on a swivel. You want to look at the big picture, the whole ice surface, but also pay attention to the small details like what the players are saying to each other. 0-1 removes those players from the ice, 0-2 can then remove Z from the ice. And the ice is empty and Zamboni can come on. So those are a bunch of examples of what it is that we want to be doing during stoppages. Ultimately, we have other types of stoppages like offsides, the puck going out of play, etc., etc. But always what we're going to do, and what we're going to start with, is stop play, separate players, and start play. And what might that actually look like? First of all, we have to know where to go at stoppages. Right? The back official is the official who did not stop play. They're going to get in between the players. The front official is going to be close enough to talk to the players, but they'll also get involved with the players if it becomes apparent that the single official can't get the players to separate by themselves. What are you going to do? Both officials are going to use their voices. They might even use their whistles to make a second effort to get players to stop interacting with each other. And during this time, you're going to focus on using your voice, and you're going to focus on using your physical presence. You're not going to grab players. That's a last resort when someone's safety is in question. Generally, you're depending on your voice and your physical position and everyone knowing that you're there to make these altercations stop. So that is the procedure for managing stoppages. Stop play, separate players, start play. Till next time, know your job, do your job.